So good morning, everybody. My name's Phyllis. I'm the facilitator for today's meeting. Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person-to-person communication to show that we are committed to treating all human beings with love, respect, empathy, compassion, and humility. Join us. Erace is an organization that does not espouse any political party, and we have no religious affiliation. We believe in acceptance of all people, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated. We come with the intention to listen, learn, and not to argue. I will read the land acknowledgement. We begin today by acknowledging that what we know as the United States is the ancestral and unceded territory of many indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named here. Members of our meeting group today are on the lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta. Sorry, I gotta let somebody in. The Tonkawan, Lipan, Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Lenape and Piscataway in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples in Boston, the Coahuila and Mojave in Riverside, and the Lumbee in Fayetteville. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through the generations and through today. We need to protect and honor the history and people of these places. Despite centuries of colonial theft and violence, we should always remember that we are all still on indigenous land, and it will always be indigenous land. So everybody here today, I'm sure, is familiar with the process of how we run the meeting. I will keep a list of who raises one finger to get on the list to speak. Each speaker, each time they're on the list, will have 2 minutes. If a speaker says something that you need to clarify, you didn't understand a word or a term, you can raise up 2 fingers, and I will call you to jump in and ask your clarifying question. The clarifying question should not be a way to rebut what the person said. If you want to make a statement about what the person said, you can raise 1 finger and get on the list. As we said, we respect each other, no personal attacks, no name calling. The point of our discussion is to listen, learn, and not to argue. I did that. And we ask that everyone stay muted unless you're called on as the next speaker. And let me just say, in all my time with Erace, first let me have you introduce yourselves. Nancy.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name's Nancy. I'm in the New Orleans area, and I have been coming to Erace since June of 2007. Good morning.
Louise.
Hi, I'm Louise. I'm in Austin now, but was in New Orleans where I first encountered Erace in the mid-90s. So I've been coming for a while, on and off.
Thank you for being the timekeeper today. Pedro.
Yeah, I'm Pedro Gatos in Austin, and I started my Erace involvement some years ago, and unfortunately have been kind of distracted from being able to attend as regularly. It's good to be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Marla has said that she's taken a phone call, so she can't jump on and introduce herself right now. Larry.
Good morning, I'm Larry. I'm in New Orleans. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Lynetta.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynetta. I've been a member of Erace since I was an intern in not in grad school, in my undergrad.
Thank you. I hope you're doing well. Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa Roberson. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've been coming since August 2022.
Thank you. Amal.
Good morning. I'm Amal, and Looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Glenn?
Peace be unto everyone. Glenn Abdullah. I've been coming since 94.
Thank you. So as I preemptively tried to say, prematurely, this has been the hardest week to go through in terms of trying to pick a topic for an Erace meeting. Because every day, just when I thought I knew, then something else happened. And Nancy suggested going with this direction of the free speech issue, which I appreciated because I could have been sitting around till Friday afternoon pondering all the options. So I picked this article, one, because it's not from a major US media. Oh, thanks, Teresa. Situations from Al Jazeera, and I find them to be very more balanced than some of the US stuff, just probably just going to get worse. So today's September 20th. It's been 10 days since Charlie Kirk was killed. And we've had all the brouhaha around his shooter, his legacy, the young Black man and the mid 30-something white man who were both lynched in Mississippi, people from teachers to media like Jimmy Kimmel losing their jobs or getting fired or getting reprimanded because of things that they said. And in some cases, it was just quoting Charlie Kirk, just quoting him. And one I want to point out in this article is Karen Atia, who was the only Black woman on the Washington Post opinions desk, the only Black woman. So I will open the list, and I see I've got Teresa. And anybody else want to get on the list to start the conversation?
I just want to say this, that we on YouTube, and you know they're trying to get rid of people from expressing themselves, so we could get kicked off of YouTube if we go to an extreme on this subject. That's all I just want to tell you that.
Thank you. And as I've told Richard in the past, nobody's watching our YouTube videos. So don't worry. We do not have a media presence. Okay, Teresa, you are up, and then anybody else want to get on?
It's so funny, and thank you for choosing this because I've had a lot of thoughts I've been wrestling with, and it's all been this week. So I've been having a rough. Honestly, I didn't know Charlie Kirk at all. I don't watch conservative media. I hardly ever watch the news other than in the morning. And if the late night comedians don't bring them up, neither do I. Don't know anything about it. I don't really care for the news, honestly. But something told me to check if Jimmy Kimmel was on. I don't know what it was, like psychic or something. And so I checked because we get our streaming from YouTube TV, and lo and behold, it wasn't there. And I Googled it, and that's when I found out that he was indefinitely suspended. And that's what, if people don't feel chilled, I mean, when somebody the caliber of Ted friggin' Cruz can say, wow, this is not right, it's like, wow, the level of Ted Cruz is disagreeing with that. And as far, I guess you're talking about the young man who was found hanging in a tree in Mississippi, Phyllis, because it was jaw-dropping to me that has been reported multiple times as no foul play, as if a young Black man hanging from, I was like, what foul play do you need to see? And they were talking about, oh, there were no contusions, there were no this, there were no that. And I was like, what? Have people stopped slipping people that date rape drug? I mean, he could have been drugged, which is why you don't see any markings. But I feel like I'm approaching 2 minutes, so I'll be quiet for right now. But a lot of emotions about what is and is not there. And as far as what Kimmel said on Monday, that's nothing compared to what he would say about Trump during the first presidency. So they just had a hit list, and he was next. And now apparently Fallon and Seth Meyers, two shows I don't watch, but I have seen, we think to Seth Meyers, we got Amber Ruffin. Anyway, I'm sure I've approached 2 minutes, so I'll be quiet now.
I got a question to ask.
Oh, to ask me?
Right.
Okay, what's up?
What did they put in his place?
In Kimmel's place?
Yes.
For right now, it looks like Celebrity Family Feud. But as Bill Maher said last night, Kimmel got his slot because they canceled Bill Maher for politically incorrect, and he's been on HBO for 23 years. So he welcomed Kimmel to get off of the Disney family, whatever, and join HBO. So I thought that was hilarious last night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. I've got Louise next, and the list is open. Nancy? I'm sorry.
Okay.
See you. Come on. Come on.
So yeah, so many thoughts, so many things, and now I can't even remember the first thing that I was going to say. Oh yeah, when I saw a clip, I didn't actually watch the Kimmel show at that time, and they showed a clip, and I didn't hear the words that he said, which were, going against what's his face, but then they went to a clip of the Orange Menace, and he was, the reporter asked him, oh, how do you feel about the death of this guy, blah blah, and he was like, yes, well, look at our rose garden, it's looking so good, he just went straight off, like. So I thought that was the bit he was trying to do, just show how Trump doesn't give a damn about him. And yet, oh my God, putting the flags at half mast for this man that said black women don't have brain capacity for something or whatever. I mean, he said the most horrifically horrible, racist, sexist things. And I'm just aghast at all of the, he's made out to be some kind of prophet by the religious right. I'm aghast at it all, and it's only going to cause, and that poor young guy. Yeah. All right, that's my time.
Thank you, Louise. Nancy, you're next.
Yes, I saw the clip. I didn't watch the actual Jimmy Kimmel, but I saw the clip. And what he initially started out saying was how the media and the politicians are trying to blame the woke left for this shooting, when really the shooter was a MAGA follower. Okay. And that really, that has just absolutely stunned me throughout this whole thing of how they are, blaming this on radical left woke politics, when that is not the case. Okay. And how they could just, flip the script. And now, initially hate speech was protected. I mean, when not just Charlie Kirk, but anyone was using, hateful speech towards any, immigrants and minority groups or whatever. Oh, that's protected under the First Amendment. You can't say that. I mean, you can say that. It's protected under the First Amendment. Now, Pam Bondi says, well, any hate speech is going to be targeted, and we're going to arrest you, and we're going to prosecute you, which is totally against the Constitution. And that has been like really scary. I don't know where I am, but the other thing I wanted to point out was that Jimmy Kimmel is lawyering up to I guess to fight it. I'd heard that he had a lawyer, but he's very concerned about not just for him, but for all the like 200 other people who have lost their job.
Hmm.
You know, he said it's not just me. This is not just about me. This is about 200 other people who support this program who are now unemployed through no fault of their own. And you should not be able to do anyway. I hear the buzzer. So okay.
You want to get
I
back
can
in the list, Nancy?
I could, yeah. Yeah.
I'll put you back on. So next I'll go to Maul, then Glenn, then Nancy. And Teresa. Amal.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was unmuting. Yeah, yeah, I was very familiar with Charlie Kirk. A lot of people don't. I know if I asked the average black man walking down the street, they probably wouldn't know who this guy was. The media attention he's getting right now is amazing
Yeah.
to me. Considering he wasn't a politician, he wasn't nobody of any real world stature. They treating this man like he was the head of state now. And there's this debate over whether he was assassinated or just killed. It's just a whole lot of stuff going on right now. What's interesting is that for me is that the very things that he stood for, he was actually killed for. Um, is the thing that killed him. Rather, this is the same man that said that some in a society where you have a Second Amendment right to have guns, the sacrifice of he's willing to sacrifice some people being killed every year to maintain that right. Well, that chicken came home to roost for him because he became one of the very victims of the thing that he wanted to protect, which was the Second Amendment. So he literally sacrificed himself. As he said, he was willing to have he was willing to take the risk of people dying every year so that he can maintain the Second Amendment right. This is the same man who said that if he got on an airplane and he saw a black pilot, he would be concerned as to whether that person was hired on their credentials or if they were a DEI hire. So a lot of people might not know him by name, but they might remember some of his quotes. Because I think that's how a lot of people might know him based on some of the things that he said rather than the things that he did. I mean, rather than his not did, but his name itself. So, you know, I'm actually surprised that nobody's calling this white on white crime. That's another thing I'm not surprised about. That I'm surprised about, but I'll digress.
Thanks, Amal. I have heard it referred to that way by some content creators.
Calling it white on white crime, you mean?
Yep.
Wow.
Glenn, you are next.
Yes, like most everyone, I knew nothing about this young fella, and he made his living by stoking fires, uh, saying things like Michelle Obama didn't believe that she had a brain. I ain't quoting him exactly, but he disparaged their intelligence. Uh, the uh, uh, he was used to go on. He was going on college campuses, uh, hitting all these fire points about affirmative action and all these type of things that you were getting a white person's job. These black people that got the job, they got it because they took your job. So it was using hatred. And who was he debating? He was debating college students. You know, people who are not, don't have a lot of experience, can't bring up, don't like a lot of history on what has happened before. And then he said things like, "Oh yeah, during the Jim Crow era, we blacks weren't doing these bad things that they're doing today." I mean, he don't have a good sense of what was going on in that period, what was going on to black people in the oppression. So he now, why was he killed? You can put me, but you're gonna have to put me back on the list because I'm gonna talk about why, what are some of the suspicions of why he was killed. Okay, so that's it. My time is up.
Okay, you're back on the list then. So got Nancy, Teresa, Marla, then Glenn again. Nancy, you're up.
Oh, um, when we started, um, Glenn mentioned about, our recording and that, we could be watched or taken down from YouTube for expressing an opinion that's contrary to what I guess, I don't know, the government says we can talk about now. I mean, that's what to me is so upsetting about all of this is that your opinion, I mean, you're even hesitant to like certain social media posts that are calling out the hypocrisy, of government officials in this matter, because of how far is the administration's reach. They're showing, news clips, certain news clips. They're not even people that I would have ever watched in the past, but who are even Jimmy Fallon censoring certain parts of his monologue so that he quote unquote doesn't offend the administration. And that's, appalling. It's just, never thought we would ever be in this position, but there are a lot of things that have happened in since 2016 that make you wonder, you never thought we would be in the position that we are in now. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Teresa?
Okay, so my sister recently told me that one of her fellow teachers is now suspended because of something that she posted online. Now, this is something she posted online in her personal time, not even on a personal device while at work, but okay. And if you didn't watch The Daily Show on Thursday, I thought Jon Stewart, who normally works on Mondays at The Daily Show, he took his turn on Thursday, and it was one of the most wonderful satirical takes on how to appease our great leader. It almost reminded me, if you ever watched the Colbert Report, how his whole character was supposedly conservative, but it was a satirical take. And even Colbert did a Colbert Report on one of his shows, to highlight that as well. But thinking about that event, and I haven't had the chance to double check, but I thought I heard that there was only 6, I don't know if they said police officers or law enforcement or whatever, at the event of 3,000 people. And when I first heard that, it was probably GMA that I heard it. I thought, only for a crowd of white people will they do that. They don't let 3,000. We couldn't even have a couple of hundred of black people and only have 6 law enforcement. And I was like, that's why they didn't see the white guy with the duffel bag. Even, and as I've said before, and I will never quit playing racism bingo, when I first heard about somebody being assassinated, and I didn't even know who that guy was, and I just thought, I bet it was an angry white guy. I keep winning racism bingo. That's why I keep playing. because unfortunately, if you just hear the before you get all the facts, you just hear the setup of a story and still correctly guess, because that to me, I was just like in a crowd because I saw the pictures, even though I didn't know who he was. You see the images of like all this crowds and whatnot, and it's like, well, it had to have been, because nobody's gonna let a man of color or a woman of color go to such an event with a friggin' duffel bag. If I'm security, the first thing I'm gonna do is, why does this person have a duffel bag? But you've got over 3,000 people reportedly at that event, and only 6 people. That's not secure. That's not anybody's idea, at least double digits, right? You don't have to be a security expert to know that 6 people for 3,000. And I'm not saying that those 6 people weren't doing their jobs, but how well can you do a job and control something when it's only 3,000? So there's always this underestimation that, oh, when white people get together, it's didn't January 6th prove anything? And at least back then, they were comparing the security, when you compare the Black Lives Matter protest march and then January 6th, it's like, wow, you had a peaceful gathering of mostly minorities and you had all this law enforcement presence. And then you had an angry crowd of white people getting really hyped up by the Orange Menace and had far less security. And that's another feature of this event. I heard the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Do you want to get back on?
I'll wait.
Okay. Marla, you're next, then Glenn. Then the list is open.
Yeah. There's so much. The thing that has really been not surprising, but just rather infuriating, is the selective sympathy that the country has for this guy and how they have put him on a pedestal, but have been so silent on so many other horrifically violent things that have transpired in our country and outside of our country. And, you can talk about Charlie Kirk, but you can't say a little blurb about Palestinian babies having their legs ripped off and their hearts beating outside of their bodies at the end of life. It just makes no sense to me. But it does make all the sense, because it once again shows that we value some lives more than we value others. Another thing that I think is kind of interesting to think about with all of this and the freedom of speech aspect is, if any little inherent criticism, and it happened to me online, was mistaken as I'm celebrating his death. And I very quickly corrected, I can think that somebody was a vile person, and it's okay to say that he was a vile person, but I never ever would condone or wish somebody dead, period. I want guns out of the hands of people who are doing things like this, regardless of who the people are. So it's like, the way it's misconstrued is nuts. Anyway, that's it for now.
Thank you, Marla. Got Glenn, and then the list is open.
Okay. Now who killed him? They have this little young boy, and he must be a hell of a sniper. Now Netanyahu has come on 3 days in a row saying that Mossad had nothing to do with the killing of Charlie Kirk, and that brings nothing but suspicion on Israel and the Mossad. Now, Charlie Kirk had begun to say things against Israel. Most of his donors are rich Jews, because he had been speaking up for Israel. He had been making cover for what they were doing in Gaza. Now he started to have Tucker Carlson on the show, and Tucker Carlson been ripping him, and so he was called for a meeting, and he was offered millions of dollars to start getting back on Israel's side. He refused to take the money. And he told friends of his that he felt that his life is being threatened. So uh, uh, I would say that as things move on, we will find out more about who really uh, killed this man. And just like Marla said, I don't want to see nobody get killed. Even Trump. I don't want to see nobody shoot Trump. I want to see him get his day of justice for all the wrong that he's done through our court system. That's it.
Thank you. Glenn, Amal, you are next.
Yeah, like when in Marla, I wouldn't wish death upon nobody either. I think that what happened to him in terms of the way he was killed, in particular in front of his wife and children, was horrific. That wasn't necessary. I I'm confident enough in my intellectual ability to challenge a person like a Charlie Kirk verbally rather than resorting to violence. So definitely don't wish that uh on that man. So that was terrible what happened to him. Anyway, but at the same time I can be critical. And like I said, it's people want to ignore his quotes. Black people were better before the 1940s under Jim Crow. Uh, the civil rights legislation was terrible for the United States. Then he attacked Martin Luther King. Then I mean, the guy just went on and on and on, and so I think Glenn was just saying that you when he went to colleges to challenge a bunch of late teen, early 20-year-olds who probably haven't studied much, and it was easy to challenge them. He would have never come to meetings like ours and other organizations where people were old enough or more experienced enough or have studied history enough to challenge him back. And I think that it made him look more intellectually superior when you're challenging 18, 19-year-olds. Now, he wouldn't have got at me at that age, at 19. Now, he wouldn't, no, not me.
Yeah.
At all. I'd have destroyed him easy. But everybody wasn't me at 19 years old. And I understand that. So.
Thank you, Amal. I've got Teresa and then Larry.
Okay, I am going to post an article because, like I said, I didn't have an opportunity to really research. But I wanted to double check the fact that he was not a registered Democrat or Republican. He registered unaffiliated and then didn't vote in the last two elections that he was old enough to vote in. His parents were Republicans, and he was living with a trans partner, is how they're calling it. I don't know exactly what the relationship was between, the BBC article that I just posted suggested that they were romantically involved. It's really none of my business. But what I'm looking at is the fact that people like to put people in buckets, and he filled a lot of buckets. He checked a lot of boxes. To say that he was one thing or the other than an angry white man who killed another person, I think that is far more accurate than trying to say, well, he's not this side or that side or whatever. And I guess it's probably on YouTube now, Bill Maher. You know how they say the 5 stages of grief: first it's shock and then anger and then blah 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 blah. He said, and I I'm going to try to look this up so I can get this for you guys, but he said that we need to do away with that and that the new 5 steps. The one thing I remember is he said, we all go through this, oh, I hope this person isn't the same ethnicity as me. And, you know, he's part of the other group or something. But I got to get those 5 steps down because when he said it, I said, that is exactly what the media goes through and that drives the conversation of how to categorize someone. They don't want to recognize that he checked, if you're going to just look at politics, he checked boxes on both sides. It wasn't just one thing or another. And I don't care how easy the kill shot was, the fact that he owns weapons, that he obviously had some training. I mean, I've only fired a gun once at one event, I privately paid someone teach me how to handle a weapon, but I don't own one. I didn't keep up with it. I don't go to shooting ranges on a regular basis. So it's really not the same if you grew up with that. And I know liberals who also own guns. I even told one of my friends, when things go down, I'm going to live with you and your husband. Y'all know what to do as far as that. And they're registered Democrats. So I still hate the fact that people think, oh, you have to be a Republican to be a gun owner. Most of my Democratic family live in the country and they own guns. I mean, you cannot just say because you registered for something that your beliefs are this, that, and the other. So.
Thank you, Teresa. I've got Larry next, then Amal, then Marla.
You know, there are the words of a French philosopher that somehow made its way into the American lexicon of democracy, where some comments were attributed to him that says, I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend to the death
the right
to say it. So where is American democracy? Martin Luther King, in his letter from Birmingham jail, made a statement that said history will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the vitriolic words and the violent actions of the bad people, but the appalling silence and indifference of the good people. That is how we've gotten to this point. That is how we, in 2025, are still talking about issues of racism. You know, the appalling silence when white America saw a knee on the neck of George Floyd and said nothing. I'm not talking about the few whites who got out there and demonstrated with Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the whites in Congress, the lawmakers who said nothing. The appalling silence, how we could sit in America in the comfort of our money and homes and military might, see thousands of Palestinians being slaughtered, genocide taking place, and there's an appalling silence because the ones who are orchestrating that genocide rules American politics and got the politicians in their pockets. So there's an appalling silence. That is how we've gotten to where we are today. Thank you. I'll come back.
Going back on the list now?
Not right now, no.
Okay. I've got Amal next, then Marla, then Glenn.
I have a clarifying question.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Reverend Larry, do you think those white politicians didn't speak up because they were too uncomfortable?
No. Well, you know, when you're a part of a system, you can't be too uncomfortable. I mean, when you speak up for right and justice, fear has to be cast aside. So no, I think that was just a fear, or even that they felt the same way as that policeman whose knee was on George Floyd.
Thank you. Amal.
Yeah, it's interesting that Reverend Larry will mention George Floyd because Charlie Kirk was one of the people who said that it was a fentanyl overdose that killed George Floyd rather than a knee on his neck. he perpetuated that idea as basically as a way of saying that, you know, anything that came after George Floyd was wrong and unnecessary, because after all, why would you celebrate or not celebrate, but why would you martyr rather a guy who was a drug addict? And you hear this from Candace Owens and the likes and others. So this is the mentality of people who think in those circles that, you know, George Floyd died of a drug overdose. But anyway, was, you know, when Charlie Kirk was shot, the blame game, if you will, just got so out of control. The left blamed the right blamed the left, conservatives blame liberals, Democrats blame Republicans, and backwards and forward and backwards and forward. What I thought was interesting is how Black people got into this conversation, because HBCUs across the country had to shut down because of threats after this occurred. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people kind of sweeping under the rug in this conversation. What does Black people have to do with this conversation? In the sense that, not in the sense that we had to shut down schools. That part to me is amazing, that Black schools got threatened. Like, even if you didn't know who did it, there should have been something in a white supremacist mindset that say, well, you know, in Utah, where the percentage of Black people is probably 0.1, you know, we know ain't nobody Black did this in a state like Utah. So, but the fact that we became the target lets me know that something can happen to white folks from white folks, but there'll be white folks amongst them that'll need to blame somebody, and Black people are usually that target, and particularly historically.
Thank you, Amal. Next, I've got Marla, then Glenn, then Lunetta.
Amal didn't know it, but he gave me a great segue for what I have to say next. Another, and I'm sorry, I know the whole talk is supposed to be about freedom of speech, but I do think they are all intertwined. Again, kind of going back to the internet and the discussion, I had a friend on a social media post say that Tyler Robinson, I think that's his name, I don't even recall, it wasn't the fact that he was a Republican, a Democrat, of this, of that, the other. He was ... mentally ill. And that's what made him kill. And it raised a very interesting discussion online in this whole thread. If you're politically radicalized, are you automatically mentally ill? And this person submitted that yes, any type of political radicalization means you have some degree of mental illness. And I very quickly was intrigued, and I said, I caution correlating mental illness with political radicalization, because this is a slippery slope that you risk ignoring political dissent and what the real issue is if you're conflating mental health issues. That's like the buzzword now. You know, anytime someone does something violent, white people say it's mental illness. We have a mental illness epidemic. Look, we've always had a mental illness problem, but this is not that. Can they be intertwined? Certainly, yeah. I think they can be intertwined. But I also think people get politically radicalized and they do things like this completely in their right, sane mind. That's it.
Thank you, Marla. Glenn, and then Lynetta. The list is open after that. We can take a couple more people.
Yes, you can, the media can make anybody feel sad about somebody uh, being killed or somebody being kidnapped. Uh, they're responsible. They create the feeling that's in the society. They create it. Uh, so if they decide to make Charlie Hurst the sympathy, but what's going to happen after the sympathy dies down, they're going to be documentaries on him, and they're going to show everything about him. Uh, they're gonna show who they think who killed him. They're gonna show all this, uh, and but right now they'll use his debt. The political system will use his debt to clamp down on not so much dissent in our country, but dissent against Israel. Anybody that dissent against Israel, they're ready to take whatever the school get from the government. They're ready to take that from them. They're ready to fire presidents. So they're going to use this as a tool to get so there will be no uh, going to use his dead body to put down dissent. Not all the time for this country, but for Israel. That's it.
Thank you, Glenn. Lynetta's next, and then the list is open.
I did not know who this man was until he died. And I just want to piggyback on what Amal said. Amal, I don't know if you knew this, but at Southern University, I can't vouch for the other HBUs, but the call that Southern University in Baton Rouge got was that someone was coming on the campus to kill the student. That's why they went on a lockdown. The HBCUs had nothing to do with this man's death. I don't know why. What was the they did find out that the one in Baton Rouge, they found out the person who made the call. It was a white guy that did it. But why did they do what was the connection between this man's death and the HBCUs? I have no idea. I don't know. But anyway, getting back, and I also want to talk about this young man that was hanged in Mississippi. This thing that they're telling everybody that he committed suicide. I'm not buying it. I'm so glad that Compakian, am I pronouncing his name right, everybody? The football player.
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick, thank you. He's paying for an independent autopsy to find out his real cause of death. I am not buying that this young man committed suicide. I know suicide is going up with young black men, but I don't think this young man committed suicide. And we're gonna and I'm so glad that we call him the Attorney General of the Black community has this case, is looking into this case. I believe this is white. I believe this is part of this case. I think a white supremacist did this. I really do. I hope I'm wrong, but I just do. I think this is all connected. And also the white man too. I think that they both were hanged because of this man's murder. I really do. I hope I'm wrong, but that's how Lynetta feels.
Thanks, Leonetta. Larry, and then Teresa.
Sometimes if we're patient, answers and solutions will come to situations, or rather will come to the surface. But what we're dealing with Charlie Kirk is no more really than an example of what we dealt with here on this platform a few weeks ago, when I was sought to be silenced merely if I just mentioned the name of Jesus. Not trying to preach Christianity, but if I just mentioned Jesus, or if I just mentioned the Bible, the text that I came under. And But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But somewhere in September, senator, a Missouri senator, Eric Smith, said that America belongs to us, talking about white people, promoting white nationalist ideology. Speaking at the National Conservatism Conference in Washington, D.C., he argued against the idea of the United States as a universal nation open to all. He framed America as a homeland for a specific European descended Christian people. So when I talk about the silence of the good people, why did none of his fellow Republicans speak out against that? Because they felt the same way he does. And so when we're talking about some of these white shooters, we talk about their mental state. White supremacy is a sickness. White supremacy is mental illness. But we don't want to talk about it because it affects so many people that it has almost become the norm for white people to feel that way. But white supremacy is a mental illness. And not but one thing that can knock that out. That's love. That's love. If we think we can handle that in any other kind of way, we're disillusioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Teresa, you are next, then Louise.
Okay, one comment I wanted to make and I forgot or ran out of time is the reason why the conservatives always go back to before civil rights is that, oh, Black people had it better. You know, they all had jobs. And I was thinking about what jobs Black people had. They may have had thousands of menial jobs that were pseudo slavery, but that wasn't careers, that wasn't life fulfillment, none of that. And Leonardo, you brought up a great point. Whenever a Black person is murdered, they love to say that we did it to ourselves. Either we committed suicides or other lifestyle choices that we had made, or, you know, we were born with a heart defect or something. And you're just like, really? That 9-minute knee compression to the neck wasn't what killed him? And I just want to throw in anytime like a young Black woman is kidnapped, there would be a lot more funding if they classified it as kidnap. But oh, she just ran away. You know, she just like, really? You think all these young Black women are running away? But you know, it goes back to who gets to tell which narrative, who has the power of the story, and that's what I see again with that young man who I literally stopped in my tracks and my mouth was open when they said there was no foul play of this young man. I'm not an expert in suicide, but most men don't kill themselves that way. I mean, if you're going to hang yourself, you normally do it in your home. That's my first thing. I mean, there are people who commit suicide. Yes, Black people do commit suicide, but you're going to hang yourself in a tree outside. That's, to me, that's suspicious. And again, that's all this week. But thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. We've got Louise next. The list is open if anybody else wants to get on the list.
So yeah, that hanging is definitely very suspicious, Teresa. I mean, you know, and I really kind of feel that all of this is orchestrated, and you know, yeah, I can be a conspiracy theorist sometime, and I do believe that this might have all been arranged to just fuel the war and chaos that Trump and his administration want. You know, I just, you know, that's underlying thought that's in my head. And Larry, I feel we're not suppressing your views or statements, but I think myself personally, my opinion is that you never say in my opinion, you know, you just state it as fact. And I think that is what, you know, what we find a little, you know, not quite Correct.
give
It should be just in your opinion, in your beliefs, not, like you're stating it's gospel. Sorry, excuse the word. Um, so I don't think there was anything else I was going to say. No, this is all craziness. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I've got Glenn and then Teresa.
Well, on
Larry.
on the censure on them putting off these talk show hosts, taking them off the air,
Put them all.
uh, has nothing to do with public opinion on what they said or what they did. It has nothing to do with it. It's threat from the government. Both of these commercial industries, who these comedians work for, well, making a deal, bringing two companies together, and the government, they're afraid of the government is not going to allow them to make this merger. And that's why they say, well, it's cheaper to get rid of the comedians than to worry about what the backlash may come from the public of getting rid of them. Because both I think that's NBC. Is that NBC and ABC? They both got mergers going on, and the government under Trump got power over every every government agency. He's got his man there, and they're gonna do what he says. So that's the reason these guys got fired. Not for what they said. It is the fear of what they won't be able to make these $1 billion mergers. That what else I wanted to say? Yeah, and Larry was something done to him similar uh, before all this happened. That's it.
Okay, I've got Teresa, then Larry, then Amal. And I think after Amal, we'll start the wrap up.
Okay, so my first comment is really a question. When is the National Guard coming to Utah? Because obviously it's not safe. I mean, only 6 people to guard an event of 3,000. The second thing is, will all this be the lead up to Trump trying to get a third term? Is he going? Because I often thought, he ran out the gates his first 100 days to dismantle the federal government. And, everybody keeps saying, oh, well, he can't run for a third term. Well, there's a lot of things that people kept saying that he can't do. And the first thing was, oh, he'll never become president. Well, never came sooner than a lot of people thought. And recently, before, I finally lose more rights as a Black woman, I was trying to look up information about the upcoming elections. And I usually go to vote 411 and I put in my zip code and it said, oh, there are no elections in your area. And I'm like, the hell they aren't. Early voting has already started in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And there's only one place I can vote. And Monday through Friday, it's from 8 to 5. So literally while I'm at work. I mean, I could try to get there at 8 because I technically start at 9, but that's still mission impossible. So I've got one Saturday, which is October 4th. I know that's when it's our race meeting, but it's like I'm going to vote in that primary come hell or high water. And it's just interesting how it's becoming more difficult to even find out information on voting and information like to double check. And with all the media merging, to find different sources of information, because especially at the local level, I don't have the time to do the research about who is feeding the news to all these local. It could be one source, and it often is. And you'll hear them say, I think John Oliver did a deep dive a couple of years ago about how they will literally say the same phrase. And his researchers did his producers and team did the research and showed clip after clip of news anchors saying the exact same words to describe the exact same story, showing we don't have a true variety anymore.
Thank you, Teresa. I've got Larry and then Amal.
It's just a coincidence that on the front page of today's newspaper in New Orleans, it says Louisiana teachers investigated for posts about Kirk, and social media comments about killing of activists draw scrutiny. It says several Louisiana teachers have come under fire for social media posts related to the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. When I was in high school, I think about 11th grade, somewhere around 1964, we had to take a course called Americanism versus Communism. And in that course, it pointed out all of the evils of communism. And it's strange that the evils that were pointed out are some of the same evils that's happening in America today. And but we were made to take that course, especially as Black Americans, to see the evils of communism when the evils of democracy were being hidden from us. We were made to think that we were included in a system that never included us in its constitution. We've been living under this delusion of inclusion. And we were told that all y'all got it, if y'all just get out and vote, if you just get out and vote, you can make a difference. And then some of us even think that there's been progress made. What is progress? I think I heard Omar say a long time ago at one of our Erace meetings, I think he quoted Malcolm X, that if somebody got a knife in your back for 8 inches and he pulls it out 4, you still got a knife in your back. I think that was Omar. And I'll never forget that quote because I had never heard it before. Okay, my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Amal. I was going to stop after Amal, but Glenn and Louise went on the list. And so I'm cutting it off after Louise. Don't anybody put a finger. No. Okay. Amal.
Yeah, that was definitely a quote from Malcolm, but I was saying it. Free speech is under attack in the United States right now, and I'm saying under attack loosely because honestly, right at this point, I don't think we have it. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh no, that's not true. It's still in the Constitution." Look, just because something is written down as law doesn't mean it's practiced socially as law. People are being fired for having an opinion. That's not having free speech. People are being fired from their jobs for posting on social media, for having an opinion about Charlie Kirk's death. Some people, I think Phyllis said it earlier. Some people are being, fired from their jobs for quoting him, for saying things that he said. The flags being flown at half staff. I mean, there was a was this senator? I think it was the senator out of Minnesota. Who was this? Who was killed recently?
State senator. Yes, and her husband and her dog.
Her husband and her daughter.
Dog.
Oh, excuse me. The dog too. That poor dog. Damn. I'm a member. I'm with Pete on certain things, but I'm just saying. The dog too, and I heard nothing about flags being flown at half staff. Honestly, to be honest with you, I heard nothing about this killing of this this assassination of this politician until Charlie Kirk was, and then they tried to make correlations between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So if your freedom of speech is under attack in the United States, then everything you think you have constitutionally is under attack at this moment.
Thank you, Amal. Got Glenn, then Louise.
Yeah, your freedom of speech got cut off once Israel started the war against the Palestinians. That's when that is been the serious thing that has happened. Not Charlie Kirk. They got people who spoke up in the media. They got fired from their jobs. They like I say, you had people actually put in jail for saying something against Israel. You got people who are being put out the country because they say something against Israel. They got candidates that were running for office who lost their position because the apex attacked them, give their opponents all the money they need to defeat them. So it hasn't happened just because of this has been happening since the war on Gaza started. And I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she is really speaking out against Israel like no other politician in the government is speaking out against Israel. And she means to cut off the money. She's passing bills, but then it's not going to go nowhere because the rest of them is on the payroll of their whatever that is, their political APACs, yeah, of APACs. So yeah, vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's it.
Okay, we don't make political recommendations. We are not supporting Marjorie Taylor Greene or any other candidate.
That's not a recommendation. I think that was a joke.
Right, there you go.
I agree. But some people who are going to watch us on YouTube might not get the joke. Louise, you are next, and then we'll go into the wrap up.
Okay, actually, that leads me on to non-political and non-religious, which is something we say at the beginning of every meeting. So, Larry, I just want to go back to that just because, I mean, it's like joining a group that doesn't allow you to wear purple to the meeting, right? And you just keep wearing purple to the meeting and we're fine. Go wear purple outside the meeting. That's completely, fine. But just that's what the meeting is. It's about non-religious, non-political. So if you just keep wanting to wear purple and then act like a victim that we're trying to shush you, we're not. We're just trying to get you to stick to the rules of the group. That's all. By the way, free speech or hate speech, those have always got me as well. I mean, yes, I do love free speech, but if it's hate speech, surely we should curb it a little bit, like, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with hate speech being under the umbrella of free speech, but anyway. And for him to be called, Charlie Kirk to be called an activist, that also kind of, chafes my butt a little bit. Because normally when you think of activists, they're for social change. I guess he's for social change, but it's, not very good change that he wants. So I kind of don't like the fact that he's called an activist or that they call it an assassination, which was for political reasons. And I don't believe I just don't, it's respecting him too much, I think, to call it an assassination, which I don't think it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for all your engagement in this topic. I am gonna call on Pedro, who's the only person who hasn't spoken, to take his 2 minutes if he wants it right now.
Yeah, thank you for the discussion. I really enjoyed everyone's comments. I just thought about a couple of things. What's been really bugging me, of course, is what's going on in Gaza. The inhumanity of it all. I think you all said it real well that nobody knows about it or certainly doesn't know the depth of it. It's just incredible that you've got a whole population actually starving. And meanwhile, I turn on the TV here and I watch a lot of sports when I'm not doing my work. It's kind of an escape. And I see this ad time and time and time again. I just automatically change the channel out. So the one about the guy wanting you to donate $15 a month to support dogs. He's got a little puppy, right by his little face. And the alienation of our humanity as a country is really encapsulated there, where we care more about uh, animals than we care about human beings. And it just is a deterioration of, uh, of, of, of character because we're influenced overwhelmingly by an environment of information that is dehumanizing. It does not include real truths about things that work to reverse these types of things and such like that. So that was one thing I just wanted to mention. The other thing uh, about dissent, we're absolutely asphyxiating dissent in this country, and that goes to the alienation of our uh, of our humanity as well under our system. People are afraid to talk up because they can't even make ends meet, much less get into trouble with their job. I hear my time is up, and thank you all for the discussion tonight.
Thank you for coming. Okay, so everybody who is called on next will have 1 minute for their wrap up, and you are welcome to pass if you want to. Nancy?
Yeah, thank you for the topic. I just want to say in support of Louise that if you join a group where purple shirt is forbidden to be, or in the bylaws or in the statement of the group, it says no purple shirts, okay, and you continue to wear a purple shirt, then don't think you're not going to get pushback. Okay, my suggestion to you is to join a group that wears purple shirts. And then you can say, you can wear your purple shirt proudly. But it was a very good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, I've got Teresa.
Yeah, thank you for this discussion. I'm glad we're talking about this because it has been a very, very hard week. As a matter of fact, one of the things I'm going to do later today is go to a Renaissance festival just to make myself happy. I wasn't really planning on going. It's like I need something to make myself happy. I had already planned to go to a sound bath. It's a meditation with if you could look it up. But I'm doing that on Sunday in addition to my usual yoga class because I just thought I have to self-care. I feel like all the craziness going on in the world and just professionally, I'm doing much better. I was like, well, what does it mean to do better professionally when the world around you, it's like the musicians on the Titanic. Hey, I finally learned how to play that song and now the ship is sinking. So I hope everybody else finds some healthy ways for self-care.
Thank you. Glenn?
Well, in the Holy Quran, it says that hurl truth at falsehood, and truth will knock out the brain of falsehood. So that's how you deal with the Charlie Kirks and the Donald Trumps and all the liars in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Larry?
And piggybacking on what Glenn just said, in the Bible, it says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And when I brought up my incident, it was not to go down a rabbit hole and start that conversation all over again this morning. It's sad for those who chose to do that. I was only trying to make a contrast between what's going on now. But let us just remember the words of Martin Luther King, that it is the appalling silence of the good people that we're going to have to give an account for. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Marla?
Yeah, great discussion. Thanks to everybody for their contributions. And this is just your reminder to unclench your jaw. I need it because I'm like going through my bite guard as we speak. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully next week is better than this last week.
Marla? Lynetta?
Thank you for picking this article and for us to have this discussion. I just wanted one more comment I wanted to make. During this week, I kept seeing these pictures of them putting this. What's his name? His name is Charlie, right?
I'm having a hard time understanding you. What?
His name is Charlie, right? That's the man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have pictures of Charlie and Martin Luther King putting them together as being martyrs, and I was very offended with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to share that with the people on this with Erace, because I don't know if y'all, it offended me. I don't know if it offended you. And also about him being killed in front of his children. But Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King was killed in front of their kids too. So that's it.
Thank you. Amal?
Yeah, great article. Like I said, I certainly don't wish what happened to Charlie Kirk on anybody. I don't think that people should be killed because they may have thoughts and ideas that are adverse, that are controversial, even hateful. Because I don't want to give up free speech, even when it's speech that I don't agree with, because then it becomes a matter of who's policing speech and who determines what's hateful and what's not. So no, I want people to be able to say what they want to say without feeling like their lives depend upon it, and get their opinions across and be challenged because that's the beauty of discourse and having free speech, is that I could challenge you on what you feel and believe, and I don't feel like my life have to be threatened or feel like my life is under attack for having an opinion that's adverse to yours. So
Thanks, Amal. Louise, no clarifying questions during the wrap up, but it's your
oh,
time.
somebody want to ask me a question?
No, but not during the wrap up. We don't do that.
I did.
Okay.
So Louise is going to do her wrap up.
Oh.
You're the last one and then me. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Amal, I was just going to say, so that hateful speech, if you call someone, if for instance, they're saying black women have smaller brains and can't whatever, is that not hate? Surely that's hateful, right? And
You're not sticking to the rules. You're not sticking to the rules.
She's doing
nor are
the
you.
wrap up.
I'm doing the wrap up. I'm allowed to speak. I'm asking the question. It's just out there in the ether. That's all.
Thank
and Larry, you said you were just contrasting. No, you were comparing, I think, and so that's why we started expanding on that point. Really good, lively discussion, Phyllis. This was a great meeting, and it's really interesting to get everybody's point of views. And Amal, if you want to answer me in the conversation, the chat, you can. Great. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again, everybody, for I really appreciate y'all having so much to contribute to this. I've got notes. I'm gonna jump around and say a bunch of things. I want to clarify that his children were not present at the University of Utah, so they didn't see it unless somebody showed them the video. I don't know if his wife was there or not. So many things. So the two lynchings in Mississippi, the young black man, I don't think we need to like dig deep to figure out why a young black man would be hanged from a tree in Mississippi. That history goes way back there. Also, the white 30-something homeless man hung from a tree. After Brian Kilmeade on Fox News said that homeless people should be involuntarily euthanized if they didn't want to accept treatment and housing. So leave that right there. There have also been homeless encampments who've been shot at, I believe, in Minnesota. So they're trying to go after everybody. They just want the streets clean and lily white. I'm going to jump to a different topic. What Pedro was saying about the ad, about the person wanting money for animal care. I have been moved by videos I've seen from Gaza. Not only there's a dog rescue that's collecting as many stray dogs as they can and caring for them in one place in Gaza while their people are undergoing so much trauma. People have been moving every time they've had to move, take their pet birds, take their pet cats. It made me like, people here often say, well, people don't care more about animals, but the people undergoing the worst genocide are caring about the animals while they're being genocided. So I think that you can show your humanity for both. The things that Charlie Kirk was allegedly speaking out about was against Israel and against revealing the Epstein files, the lists. So, I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy and cynicism the way this is all being treated, and it does make me wonder if there was maybe they didn't know it was going to happen, but they are very good at taking a situation and creating some way to manipulate it, to spin it. Yeah, I think, because he was a private citizen who had a podcast and an organization that allegedly went and talked about truth. Calling that an assassination, I don't get that. And I just think now, okay, so every time there's a school shooting, let's say, 3 11th graders were assassinated today. I think that we should start using that word for everyone. I wrote down Pam Bondi's name only because she is just a disgusting white person. Not much to say. Also the same for Nancy Mace, who the day after was like slandering transgender people before they even knew who the shooter was, because they wanted it to be somebody they already hate so badly.
Isn't Nancy Mace the one from South Carolina?
I couldn't tell you where she's from.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. And so I think it was Glenn who said, and I agree, the So when Jimmy Kimmel got fired, people were like, it's the canary in the coal mine. I'm like, no. Canary in the coal mine was the student protesters protesting against the genocide in Gaza. And that didn't start under the Trump administration, their suppression. That started under the previous administration. So, and then of course, Colbert's contract wasn't renewed. I heard they're talking about getting rid of the View, because they have lots of, you know, open, although I don't always agree with them, political conversations. And the idea that we're going to have on October 14th a Charlie Kirk Day, because that was his birthday. Also, George Floyd's birthday. Literally, they were both born on October 14th. So I will be only posting about George Floyd that day.
They're both on the same day, Phyllis?
Correct.
Birthday?
October 14th. George Floyd, I think, was 73 and Kirk 93.
Interesting. It's gonna be an interesting day.
Yep.
Yes.
And then I want to say that the recently departed said a lot of things that were racist, sexist, Islamophobic, transphobic, anti-gay. And I think what Louise was saying, activists should be for political change. I would say activists should be for political progress. He was for political regression. And finally, I'll just say, and thank you all for listening, silence is violence.